Hi, Aquarius, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your July 2023 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Well, um, Aquarius people have been really being have been put to the test in more than one way in the past few years, or you can even say in the past 15 years. One big reason is because you have had Pluto in Capricorn since January of 2008. Now it went into your sign, which is kind of funny because you could call that going from the frying pan into the fire, in a certain way. It went into your sign towards the end of March, but now it's back in Capricorn, retrograding. And on the 3rd of the month, we're having a full moon in Capricorn as well. Now, I'm also referencing the fact that you had Saturn in your sign for a few years until March. So you've really had like kind of that pressure on you to clean up your act or in some way change how you do things. And depending on other factors in your chart, whether you handled this with grace or if it was like a major ordeal, depends on the individual. And by the way, if it did feel like an ordeal, that's perfectly fine because that is a human response to what this is all about. Because this is having these planets in the 12th house, which is pretty heavy duty. The 12th house is the last house in astrology, so it's kind of wrapping things up. It's the end of a cycle. It represents past lives, karma. It also represents self-undoing. So those patterns that you engage in that trip you up. So when Saturn was in, well, Saturn has kind of come and gone, so that's neither here nor there. But when Pluto was there, I was going to talk about the dark night of the soul. And I'm trying to think of whether I believe it is more Saturn or Pluto in the 12th that would give that. And actually, I mean, it could be both. But the point being that when we talk about the dark night of the soul, we're talking about a time when a person feels like nothing really can soothe them. They have to face the music in one way or the other. So now that Pluto is back in that 12th house, this is really asking you to go deep within. Because sometimes the 12th house can be, like I said, karma, but other people can be connected to that karma, and it can be hidden enemies. So it's easy to look to other people as the persecutor and not see how the individual has participated in this. So this full moon is at 11 degrees of Capricorn on the 3rd of July. And so this can be a time of letting go of something that is holding you back. And this can be any kind of addiction. And by the way, a person can be an addiction too. So it might be somebody that is hard for you to just like cut out of your life. I don't know though, because a lot of Aquarius people seem to be quite capable of just cutting someone loose. So maybe it's a bad habit of some sort. This can also be a spiritual download. It's a very psychic time. Aquarius is already an intuitive sign, and this full moon can bring something to your conscious mind awareness. The 12th house is the unconscious mind. The 12th house is the dream state. So you may have some kind of prophetic dream that serves to guide you in some way. On the 10th, we have Mars going into Virgo. This is the 8th house. And so that's very interesting for Mars to go into 8th house. It's kind of weird. The 8th house is the house of shared resources or other people's money. So inheritances, for instance. Mars can be fights. So there could be a fight over an inheritance that is connected to, Capricorn. When we talk about full moons, Capricorn can be the father. So if the father passed and something came out during that full moon that is sparking some fight for money, for instance. And the 8th house is the house of the metaphysical side of life, the occult. So anything that has to do with astrology and the tarot can be something that is really capturing your interest, or it's actually not just capturing your interest. You might be like really passionate about it and really driven about it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something else that I would associate with Mars in the 8th house. But anyway, the next day on the 11th, Mercury goes into Leo. This is your opposite sign, okay? And so this is, you're going to start to have these transits. Well, I shouldn't say start. I mean, you already have started them with Venus and Mars there, Aquarius. But you're going to have this Mercury go into 7th house of committed partnership, but also legal affairs. So, yeah, I mean, it is possible that there is some kind of legal matter that you have to contend with. And you're talking to a lawyer or you're even in a court case. But if this is related to love, for instance, Mars in the 8th house can be very sexy, but almost like tantric yoga, I would say. I don't know. Mercury in the 7th house could be setting up a wedding reception, getting all the details for that. Getting a marriage license. Doesn't sound to me like an Aquarius type of deal, but there are married Aquarians here and there. On the 17th, we have a new moon at 24:56 of Cancer, and this is the house that is connected to your employment. So, yeah, maybe there is some kind of situation involving money that has been owed to you, and you have a mediator or some kind of a legal thing, and you're going to see new developments with your work situation. Perhaps it is something along those lines for some of you. But yeah, something to do with money. You are, when I think about the kind of transits that Aquarius has, you have Neptune in the 2nd house. I'm talking about transiting. Neptune transiting the 2nd house in its own sign of Pisces. You have Saturn, which has which is now retrograding, giving that reality check in that 2nd house as well. So there could be issues that are coming up that are making you aware. Like, for instance, as it pertains to a workplace, if you find out that somebody who's doing your job is making more money than you are, then you may be trying to, get the same amount. And it could be something like that. Or you just might be, starting a new job. Could be something as simple as that. Starting a new diet, starting a new health regimen. That could be the sixth house as well. On the 22nd, the sun goes into your opposite sign of Leo. So joining Venus and Mercury in that area. So this is where the action is. Now, on the same day, Venus goes retrograde in the seventh house. So let's talk about this because Venus is going to be hanging around here until early October. That is very unusual for Venus. It does happen during retrogrades, but it's not the normal transit. So you're going to have to deal with some issue concerning perhaps an ex who might come back into the picture. And if you're already involved with somebody else, you might be like tempted to go back to this other person, thinking that everything is going to be hunky-dory. So make sure that, you're aware of this. Now, because you have planets that have already gone into Leo in the past, you might be with somebody else and it is a committed relationship, and this could threaten that if you get like very caught up in it. So make sure that any kind of person who comes back into your life, or if you initiate contacting an ex, that you are fully aware of everything that has transpired in the past and what it is that you are dealing with in the present. That you're not just going back for the sake of going back, but that you really do have this sense that it will be different this time. On the 28th, Mercury goes into Virgo. So now we have Mercury joining Mars in that eighth house. And Mercury can be like some kind of forms, documents. There might be some kind of a legal action that is taking place about shared resources or other people's money. And Mercury, you could be researching this, trying to find out, sifting fact from fantasy or deception. And you may take the initiative in this yourself. And, we have a new moon in this area in September, in mid-September. So that might be when things really solidify. But from now until then, and by the way, with Venus in the seventh house, Venus can be money, and the seventh house can be legal affairs. So there might be some money that is at stake financially, and you may feel when Venus is retrograding from the latter part of July until early September that all is lost or that it's slipping out of your hands. But wait until Venus goes direct in early September and a month later comes out of its shadow. You may see that you prevail. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated, Aquarius. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.